thank you for giving me this opportunity for doing a session on stress. So, when Nebu asked me whether I could do a session on stress, he said to me he has looked at various different options to give in terms of, whether we want to do it as a stress busting session or, various different things. Finally, he gave it to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said you should do stress less, live more. In the details I don't really know why he chose it, but he said, when we are less stressed, we live longer. But another psychiatrist like a doctor, what I felt always is, if you have less stress, you have a better quality of life, which is more important than anything else. So to have a better quality of life is essential. It's not the length of life which we lead, but the life which we do it as a quality. So that's the most important bit. So reclaiming the joy in a hectic world. So how can we reclaim the joy in a hectic world? Yes, for all this we do have stress. It's not like we are not stressed at all. All of us need a certain amount of stress to perform. So stress is there as good stress as well as bad stress. When I say bad stress means the amount of stress which is more than what a person can bear, that will be the main issue. So if you can bear an amount of stress, then it is perfectly okay. But some people can't cope. So we are mainly talking about the stress which can lead on to further problems. So that is what the thing is. So why did Nebu chose this topic now? The month of April is considered as the Stress Awareness Month, and hence we chose stress as a topic. So that's why this topic is provided. And the World Health Organization and the Stress Management Society says the three things. ACT. ACT means action, changes and things. So if you do act on stress, then you should be able to take action and move on and change why. So we have to understand why the stress is happening and how we can action it to change things around. So I've just included these things for all of you to have a look later on. One analogy which I showed is the bridge analogy. Even, the strongest bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge as well as another bridge, which failed because of tiny rust which was starting. So in our lives as well, whenever there is a stress, some or certain stress can then paralyze you by your actions, by your deeds. Everything can go for a freeze. You may not be able to perform. So that is what I wanted to say. I have given an elastic band to everyone. Has everyone got it? Do you know why I gave it? Bullet again. No, if you stretch a band, what happens? It will break. Any other thoughts? If you stretch a band, it will stretch and then? Sorry? Relaxing band. You stretch and then it recoils. Then you stretch, it recoils. Am I right? And then try it over. So it will stretch and recoil. So that is how stress is upon us on a day-to-day basis. We need stress because the purpose of the rubber band or the elastic band is to put it around something. Yeah. So you require to put it. So we also have things to perform. So we need stress so that we can perform. So once that is performed, then we have to recoil back to shape. Do you know about the stress hormones? We'll talk to that briefly about stress hormones and how it works. So you will have an understanding of it. So you can watch these later on. There are lots of resources. This is a book on stress management for dummies. But again, it has a reference for those others, all others can also use. It's not for dummies alone. It's a nice book. So I thought of, using this analogy for us. Achan, can I request you to just light the lamp? stress busting, when I looked at Eastern and Western world, I felt Eastern world has a lot of things to offer. So at the end of it, I will be talking about, the Ayurvedic and yogic practices as well. Achan has lit a lamp here. Do you know what the symbol of a lamp is? So lamp dispels darkness. Same with all these things. It's very important to think about lamp as something which dispels. So asudoma sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amrutangamaya om shanti shanti shanti. So it's about the Brihadaranya Upanishad. It was probably like 3,000 years ago it was written. But even at that time, our ancient sages had the wisdom to think about these things. And in our life, if we look at how can we have better life longer, so we need to have a time of peace or shanti, shanti, shanti. And we're always talking about Vasudeva Kudumbakam, where everybody stays in unison and makes that peace or happiness between everything. So when we do that, you become more happy. What is stress? So stress, as I said to you, happens to all of us on a daily basis. How we recoil and get back to shape, that's the most important thing. It's a natural response. So it's nothing unnatural about it. It happens in our daily life. To everyone, it happens on some degree. The way we respond to stress is the most important thing. Today, as I said, the most important part of today's lesson, which we are going to do, is to learn something so we can use it and act. So that will be the next bit of it as we move on. Do you think so? What do you think? No. This is Meerkats. You have Meerkats? So very ഭയങ്കര ഇഷ്ടമുള്ള ഒരു ജീവിയാണ്. ഒരു ഓടി നടന്ന് എല്ലായിടത്തും പോയി ഇങ്ങനെ നിൽക്കും. ഇതേപോലെ എന്തിനാണ് നോക്കുന്നത്? Yes, they are always in watch of threat. So like our human beings, because we were hunter-gatherers, we evolved over a period of time. But we always, sorry, I'm just saying, from our Homo sapiens, 300,000 years ago. So they have moved on and moved on. So when we looked at it, the stress is not a new thing. It has been there. So long time ago, we always thought about predators and sickness and starvation. These were the main threats. But now, it is the excess and heavy dependence on gadgets, and we have lost our social connection. We have become to made it very like a nuclear, and then within the nuclear family, full time computer, again nuclear. So the connections are lost. Even if you look at the giant sequoia trees, California trees, their roots are intertwined, they are connected. That is how they resist the heavy wind and the stress in the environment. That is how they could stay for thousands of years. So similarly, it is best to have a good connection within the family, within the society. So we need to socialize in real time, and we are more susceptible to feelings of loneliness and stress. Country common elderly. So we even had a minister at some point in time for loneliness. Loneliness is 2015-16. Where did the word stress come from? Stress is a word which is used in physics quite a lot. ഒരു സ്റ്റീൽ സ്പൂൺ എടുത്ത് വളച്ചു നോക്കിയാൽ അതിനെന്താ സംഭവിക്കണേ? It will bend, അല്ലേ? Steel spoon നമ്മൾ വളച്ചു നോക്കിയാൽ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സ്പൂൺ വളച്ചു നോക്കിയാൽ bend. So that is the stress in it. So it changes the shape. പക്ഷെ അത് നമ്മൾ തിരിച്ചു കൊണ്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ we have to beat it, so it comes back to the shape. So similarly, any stress which happens to us, we need to bust our stresses so that it can come back to normal. Hans Selye, he was a medical student at that time in 1920s in University of Montreal. So when he looked at people who came out of the hospital, they all looked sick. അപ്പോൾ എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിലുള്ളവരെല്ലാം സിക്ക് ആയിട്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്? That was the way. Sick means, how their appearance was. So he thought there should be something which is causing all of them look sick. So there is something. So he called the by name, അതിന് പേരിട്ടത് general adaptation syndrome എന്നാണ്. Because there is release of stress hormones which then led to the change in bodily functions. And over a period of time, it changes the body structure and everybody looks unwell when they are in a hospital. So that was the study. By around 1936, he used the word stress or the strain on human lungs. So some certain experiments, very interesting to learn certain things which was done as a history. So there is physiological stress, which is physical body level stress, പിന്നെ psychological stress അല്ലെങ്കിൽ mental stress. ഈ രണ്ട് simple categories ആണ് ഉള്ളത്. പക്ഷേ there are various others also. We are not going into that. One interesting thing is, for parachute jumpers, അവർക്ക് സ്ട്രെസ് ഉണ്ടാവോ ഇല്ലയോ? ഉണ്ടാവും. പിന്നെ അവരെന്തുണ്ടാ പിന്നെയും സ്ട്രെസ്സിന് പോകുന്നത്? പിന്നെയും സ്ട്രെസ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. They are actually going back again to do parachute jumping. ശിവു എന്തെങ്കിലും? Yeah, go on. Adrenaline rush. So they get a good feeling, so that they do it. ഇപ്പം ഞാനൊരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ വെച്ചപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ശിവു പാരച്യൂട്ട് ജമ്പിന് പോകുന്നു, ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് സ്ട്രെസ് ഉണ്ടാവുകയില്ല. Yes. But they have done a study among the students who are there for the first time for doing parachute jumping and the trainers who are doing the training. Who will have more stress? പക്ഷെ അവർ നോക്കിയപ്പം ഈ പാരച്യൂട്ട് ജമ്പേഴ്സ് റെഗുലർ ആയിട്ട് ജമ്പ് ചെയ്യുന്നവർക്ക് they didn't have any stresses, or their stress hormone level or the cortisol levels were normal. But when we looked at the students, the day before, the trainers had more stress because they were preparing for how they can perform the next day with the students. But the day of jumping, students had a very high cortisol levels, whereas the trainers were calm because they were then in their duty to do their job. മനസ്സിലാവുണ്ടോ? ഇപ്പം ഞങ്ങൾ ഡോക്ടേഴ്സ് ആണ്. ഷിബു എന്നെ കാണാം. ഷിബു എന്നുള്ള ഇവിടെ ഫ്രണ്ടിൽ എൻ്റെ കൂടെ ഇരിക്കുന്നതുകൊണ്ടാണ്. ഷിബു എന്നെ കാണാൻ വന്നു. So he might be stressed because of his problems. എന്നെ കാണാൻ വരുന്ന സ്ട്രെസ് കുറയ്ക്കാനാണ്. ഞാൻ സ്ട്രെസ് ആണെങ്കിൽ എന്ത് ചെയ്യും? It becomes very difficult, അല്ലേ? അപ്പൊ അതാണ് നമ്മുടെ പക്ഷെ ഞാൻ ഷിബുവിനെ കാണുന്നത് ചിലപ്പോൾ തലേ ദിവസം കുറെ വർക്കൊക്കെ ചെയ്തതാണ് to understand what the case is. All doctors do that, just to understand what is happening with this patient, what do I need to know about it, how can I tackle these problems. അതെല്ലാം നമ്മളിങ്ങനെ വർക്കൊക്കെ ചെയ്യുന്നതിന്റെ കൂടുതൽ ചെയ്യും. So the recipe, they have done a study and they found the recipe for stress is, one is novelty, unpredictability, threat to the ego and loss of control. In other words, NUTS is the short form which they use. So physiological stresses are mentioned. Psychological stresses is how we perceive things. ഇപ്പൊ എന്നോടൊരാളെ കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞു, ജിബി എന്നോടൊരു കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞു, ഞാനിങ്ങനെ പോയിരുന്നിട്ട് വീണ്ടും ജിബി പറഞ്ഞ കാര്യത്തിനെ കുറിച്ച് ചിന്തിക്കുകയാണ്, എന്ത് സംഭവിക്കും? You get stress for no reason. അപ്പം ആ ഒരു തോട്ട് മാത്രമല്ല, തോട്ടിന്റെ കൂടെ പിന്നെ ഫീലിങ്സ് ഉണ്ട്. ആ ഫീലിങ്സ് ചിലപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ഒരു സ്റ്റോറി മെനയാൻ വേണ്ടി നമ്മൾ ഇമാജിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്യും. സോ അപ്പൊ അങ്ങനെ സ്റ്റോറി ഇമാജിൻ ചെയ്ത് വരുമ്പോൾ then it can be a negative story or positive story based on your previous memories about the person. മനസ്സിലാവുണ്ടോ? ഇപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ഒരാളിനെ കുറിച്ച് അറിയാം, അപ്പൊ അയാളെ കുറിച്ച് ആള് ശരിയല്ല, അവൻ എന്നോട് ഇങ്ങനെ പറഞ്ഞതിന്റെ റീസൺ എന്താ, അപ്പൊ അതിനെ കുറിച്ച് വീണ്ടും നമ്മൾ അതിനെ കുറിച്ച് ഇങ്ങനെ ചിന്തിച്ച് അതിനെ കുറിച്ച് നമുക്ക് പുതിയ സ്റ്റോറീസ് ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ പറ്റും. ഓക്കെ, അബ്സല്യൂട്ട് സ്ട്രെസ്സസ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എർത്ത്ക്വേക്ക്, സുനാമി, അതൊക്കെ അബ്സല്യൂട്ട് സ്ട്രെസ്. ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒരേപോലെ ബാധിക്കും. Whereas relative stress is based on how one stress is feeling to me. It may not be the same to GB or Tess. It will be different kind of things. So it could be pressure at work. It could be like writing an exam. So modern stressors, they have changed a lot in the evolution. In the modern stresses are like work-related stress, financial stresses, relationship stress, health-related life changes, traumatic events, posters. So there's a multitude of various stressors. I'm not going into the details of it. In very simplistic terms, just to understand the biology of the stress, we have something called the brain. Brain is the hypothalamus and pituitary axis, HPA axis. Then we have the sympathetic system, we have the parasympathetic system. These are the nervous connections throughout our body. And when there is stress, the pituitary gland secreted ACTH, and then it goes to the adrenal gland. We get the excess of cortisol release as well as epinephrine, norepinephrine. So there is a rush of these hormones which comes to our bloodstream, and we get the buzz or how we feel. That is how it happens. So there is elastic band recoil. What happens is when the work is finished or the stress is done, what happens is the cortisol go back and say work is done, let us reset it. So it goes back and say we will stop it. So there is no excess release after that. But what happens is for some individuals this mechanism of feedback loop is not happening. So they go on to a cycle where excess of cortisol secretion, and then it leads on to chronic fatigue, excess chronic fatigue syndrome. So it goes on like that. So the effect of stress. So I reasons about in effect. Effects are in three domains: physical health, mental health, and in behavior. Physical health is too important cardiovascular things are. So excessive stress over a period of time can put you vulnerable for having a heart attack. So that's very important. You might have heard of type A personalities and others who are actually always at edge, always on edge. Diabetes, autoimmune diseases, these are very common with stress. And other things which cause the gastrointestinal problems, irritable bowel syndrome. Wiring toilet, wire. So that is something which happens. Then in addition we have immunity suppression. Immunity suppression we get succumb to infections very quickly. Stress we don't really see that, but they will present to you with various physical illnesses. If physical illnesses have been explored, we get to know because they have been through so many doctors to check their physical condition. Unexplained the medical symptoms are unexplained. There is no specific reason we can find out. So the next is effect on mental health. It can cause anxiety. Elastic band it will start vibrating first. That's anxiety. Anxiety. He looks panic, like being anxious all the time. But that's nervous breakdown and depression. So you get an idea about this elastic band. Stress is fine, it can recoil, it can be back to normal. But it goes beyond that, it starts becoming more and more anxious, and then you get the stress, depression. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Memory problems. It's a very common presentation when people are under stress. They can't perform at work. Young people, they are like 25, 26 or 35 coming to us with memory problems. Main problem is stress at work and various other things. I'm sure you all have come across these things. Decision making. This is a big problem. Everything is gone. Because they are unable to do that. Okay. Just on the Karnika Mandiana, he Valakin Mudu Pag main item. Although flame card. Second thing, another Vicon and Vicon and Thiri and other oil. About human body important that is like our performance. We need the resource of energy, like energy. And to perform again, the energy and oil all of this second thing is you need the external factors suitable. So oxygen in the sorry? It will go out. So we need to be in a place where we get a lot of oxygen around environment. So this is something which always gives an analogy to this kind of stress. So we will talk about that later. This is the Karnichu. Thank you very much. Thank you. Decision making and decision making is because later on we will say why decision making is important, because clarity is important. The thought requires a lot of clarity. When I learned about in Ayurveda, I did Ayurveda specific things. അപ്പോൾ അതിൻ്റെ അത് സ്പെസിഫിക് ആയിട്ട് എഴുതിയിരുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ clarity of mind is what Ayurveda offers, which is very important. So the next one is overeating, smoking, unhealthy habits. These are all effect on behaviors. So when the initial thing is happening, there is a fight or flight response. അതാണ് ആദ്യത്തെ നമ്മൾ സ്റ്റേജസ് നോക്കുമ്പോൾ. സെക്കൻഡ് സ്റ്റേജ് ഈസ് റെസിസ്റ്റൻസ്. കുറേ ദിവസമൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ഇതിനൊരു റെസിസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത് നോക്കി സ്ട്രെസ്സിന്റെ സാധനം. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ we lead on to a state of chronic fatigue or exhaustion. So next one നമ്മൾ പഠിക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത് പുതിയൊരു ലെസൺ ആയിട്ട് എനിക്ക് half an hour തന്നെ. I might be like little bit excess, a few minutes maybe. It's okay, I hope. So doing what matters in the time of stress. So there is a WHO guide which you can download. It's all there in the internet. It shows an illustrated way of how to deal with stress. So first and foremost with sleep is, stress is restore your sleep cycle. എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് restoring sleep cycle? Because circadian rhythm. എന്തുകൊണ്ട് circadian rhythm? നമ്മൾ നാച്ചുറൽ ആയിട്ട് സ്ലീപ്പ് ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് ഒരു 8 to 10 in the evening we have natural secretion of a hormone called melatonin. ആ മെലാറ്റോണിന്റെ സെക്രീഷൻ വന്നിട്ടാണ് നമുക്ക് സ്ലീപ്പ് സൈക്കിളിലോട്ട് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. If sleep is there, it will repair, relax and rejuvenate your body. But if sleep doesn't happen, then everything goes out. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ആയുർവേദത്തിൽ സ്പെസിഫിക് ആയിട്ട് the first and foremost they tend to do is to get the person to sleep. Unfortunately, in modern medicine, we have medications like benzodiazepines, zopiclone. These are medications which we give to sedate people. Most of our people, especially, do not like these medications to be taken. അപ്പോൾ അവർക്ക് സ്പെസിഫിക്കായിട്ട് നല്ല എണ്ണ വല്ലം തേച്ച് സ്മൂത്ത് ആയിട്ട് പിന്നെ തല തണുപ്പിച്ച് കിടത്തുന്നതായിരിക്കും കുറച്ചുകൂടെ ബെറ്റർ ആയിട്ട് എനിക്ക് പലപ്പോഴും തോന്നിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ബിക്കോസ് അവർ പീപ്പിൾ വി ഹാവ് എ ഡിഫറെന്റ് കൾച്ചർ, വി ഹാവ് എ ഡിഫറെന്റ് വേ ഓഫ് ഡൂയിങ് തിങ്സ്. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഓൾ. നെക്സ്റ്റ് വൺ ഈസ് be consistent with your timing to sleep. ചില ദിവസം നമ്മൾ പറയും വീക്കെൻഡ് അല്ലേ രാത്രി 1 മണി വരെ ഇരുന്നളയാ. That is also not thought to be good for your stress levels. Next one is have a place where you have to sleep in a dark, relaxing and comforting place. And the latest studies എല്ലാം പറയുന്നത് 1 hour before you go to bed you should switch off your gadgets which emit blue light. നമ്മുടെ മൊബൈൽസിനെ കുറിച്ചാണ് എടുത്ത് പറയുന്നത്. And computers, TV scans and smartphones. ഇപ്പോൾ പുതിയൊരു പരിപാടിയാണ് എല്ലാവരുടെയും ബെഡ്റൂമിൽ TV വെക്കുന്ന പരിപാടി. അത് actually supposed to be very wrong and people should avoid it as much as we can. Next one is large meals and caffeine. This is also not good before you go to bed. Next one is physically active during the day. ഒത്തിരി sluggish ആണെങ്കിൽ then we can't really do much. Then getting connect with people. I already said that. Being healthy in eating. അതിന് വേറൊരു വേർഡ് ഇവര് സത്മയ എന്നുള്ള വേർഡ് ഇവർ ആയുർവേദത്തിൽ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. I will come to that later. Exercise regularly. So if you can do those things regularly, that can reduce your stress levels. Keep a simple routine. So one is, you should be feeling in control of things. അപ്പം നമുക്കൊരു set of things which we can do, we should have a list for that day. Don't do too many things which you can't fulfill. Set a time for your waking and sleep. Set regular meal times. Set time with the family and also have time for me. That means എനിക്ക് ഇഷ്ടമുള്ള എന്തെങ്കിലും ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി കുറച്ച് സമയമെങ്കിലും ഡെയിലി യൂസ് ചെയ്യാം. half an hour, 1 hour probably. And find time to relax and do physical exercise. നിങ്ങളിത് കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. I'm sure many of the management gurus here will have looked at these things. Eisenhower decision matrix. So it's like better time management. You put it into 4 different columns: urgent ones, non-urgent ones, important ones, not important ones. So urgent ones which are important, do it now. Non-urgent but important, schedule for a time to do it. Not important, delegate who can do it. Not important, non-urgent, you can eliminate it. So this is the way of managing this time management. Then the most important thing for the nowadays, because COVID na samayathe idu maatrame undarunnu news, we were lots of news, WhatsApp il madhiyillokke adu actually has increased our stress hormones on a chronic basis for a long period of time. Fortunately we are coming out of it. So now the most important for us is to have a bit of ഉപവാസം. ഞാൻ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയതല്ല കേട്ടോ. The latest ആയിട്ട് പറയുന്ന studies have at least a time free of gadgets every day or every week whenever you can. That will help you to rejuvenate yourself, and maybe in 20-30 years, like cigarette smoking, it might come with a warning by saying that ഞാനല്ലാതെ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുള്ള സ്റ്റഡീസിന് അടുത്താണ് 20-30 years excess use of social media, excess use ആണ് കേട്ടോ, excess use of social media may come with a warning in 20-30 years. So let us do some things. So next is learning how to reduce it. അപ്പം സ്ട്രെസ്, അപ്പം അതിൻ്റെ അർത്ഥം ഞാൻ മനസ്സിലാക്കിയത്, നമ്മൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും കേട്ട് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇപ്പം എല്ലാവരും ഉറക്കം വരാൻ തുടങ്ങി, അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഞാൻ അടുത്ത പ്രോഗ്രാം തുടങ്ങാമെന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചത്. So learning how to reduce this. Tell me I will forget, show me I may remember, but involve me then I will understand. So അതാണ് Chinese proverb. So we will do some techniques which we can look into. So I have bought some വെള്ളം കൊടുക്കാതെ പെട്ടെന്ന് കുടിച്ചു കളയല്ല, ഞാൻ പറയാതെ എടുത്ത് കുടിക്കും. അച്ഛനോട് പെർമിഷൻ ചോദിച്ചിട്ടാണ് പള്ളിക്കകത്ത് ഡ്രിങ്ക് വെളിയിൽ വെച്ച് ക്ലാസ് എടുക്കണമെന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചിട്ടാണ് തന്നത്. ജസ്റ്റ് ഒരു മെഡിറ്റേറ്റീവ് സ്റ്റെപ്പ് പറഞ്ഞു തരാൻ വേണ്ടി മാത്രമാണ്. ഇറ്റ് വാസ് ഡൺ ബൈ KM ജോർജ് അച്ഛൻ ഒരു പ്രാവശ്യം കുറച്ചൊന്നും പറഞ്ഞായിരുന്നു അച്ഛൻ്റെ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ. ബട്ട് ജസ്റ്റ് ഐ വാണ്ടഡ് ടു ബ്രിങ് ഇറ്റ് അക്രോസ്. So to know how we can manage stress, we should know the link between thoughts and emotions. കേട്ടോ, ഞാൻ ഡിസ്ട്രിബ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് തുടങ്ങിയതായിരിക്കും നല്ലത്, ഡിസ്ട്രാക്ഷൻ വരാതിരിക്കാൻ. ഇത്രയും പറഞ്ഞതിനകത്ത് ചോദ്യങ്ങളോ എല്ലാം ഉണ്ടോ ആർക്കെങ്കിലും? Has anyone got any questions to ask? ഇത്രയും പറഞ്ഞതിൻ്റെ ഇടയ്ക്ക് അറിയാത്ത കാര്യങ്ങളൊന്നും പറഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല, എല്ലാം അറിയാവുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് പറഞ്ഞേക്കുന്നത്. Is there anything which you have to ask, any questions? ജ്യൂസ് കുടിക്കില്ല കേട്ടോ, പ്ലീസ്. ജ്യൂസ് കുടിക്കാറായില്ല. Thank you very much, Sachin and Royce. Thank you for this. Don, thank you very much for distributing it. So hold on to that for a few minutes. പണ്ട് കൊച്ചു കുട്ടികളുടെ മാഷ്മെല്ലോ കഥ അറിയാം? You know marshmallow story? You know, for young children there were 2 marshmallows. If you wait until the examiner comes back, you will get 2 marshmallows. Otherwise you can take 1. So what happened with less than 3-year-olds? All of them had their marshmallows. Examiner, most of them, there are very, very few people who can control their emotions so that they can wait to get the second marshmallow along with. And temperamentally we are like that. Immediate finish it. So I just wanted to mention that. So this is very important to understand. So the important point here is what is being hooked. So it seems stress in all main കാരണം when we get a thought we get hooked on it. ഒരു മനുഷ്യൻ ഒരു ദിവസം എത്ര തോട്ട്സ് മനസ്സിൽ കൂടെ പോകായിരിക്കും? ജസ്റ്റ് റഫ് എസ്റ്റിമേറ്റ്. ആർക്കും ഇതുവരെ കണക്കാക്കാനൊന്നും പറ്റിയിട്ടില്ല. It seems more than thousands of thoughts pass through your brain just like that. ഞാനിപ്പോൾ പഠിക്കാൻ ഇരുന്ന് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എത്ര തോട്ട്സ് ആണ് പോകുന്നത്? ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ മോനോട് ചോദിച്ചാൽ മോനോട് എന്നോട് മാത്രം ചോദിക്കുന്നത്. Why are you asking me? Why can't you ask Ryan? Ryan, how many thoughts when you sit and study?
Quite a lot.
Quite a lot. So what happens is when you study, you can't put your focus onto it. So mindfulness is a technique which can help us to focus on or engage into what we are doing right now. It's being in the present moment. So that's what we are going to show with some techniques here. So these thoughts and feelings are like hooks, like a fish. You know, when the fish is there, the fish comes out of the water with a hook. So these kind of thoughts, and we are like era. We just get out of the water because we had got this little bait. So that becomes us lose our focus, our attention for that present moment. So there are different types of hook, you know that. So like the fish came out of the water, our thoughts and feelings can hook at any time. So here let us look at this father playing football with his children. Suddenly, a thought so suddenly he was hooked out of the thing. Similarly, like someone eating food, a meal family, but one of them suddenly got some thoughts and then it happens in some families. That is because they are not in the present moment. We are not actually there sitting there to do something else. We are sitting down there to eat our food and enjoy our food. Instead, what has happened? They had some thought, some discussion, some feelings which are not related to what we are doing at that point in time. That is eating the meal, and suddenly somebody rushed out of it. Yeah, because the hook then collected this lady and took her out of that system. So all of us have what is called as core beliefs and values. So core beliefs and values are like making me feel good. I feel good about myself. So in between, what happens is some stressors, some thoughts comes and take you out of the value. So it's now recoiling back, being grounded is the most important thing. We'll come to that in the session. So look at how to focus, engage and pay attention. So I will explain that. So staying focused will give you an attention to the moment. So let us now start to look at this drink which you are having. Have you all got the drink? Yes? So first and foremost, focus your full attention on it. You notice the drink with curiosity as if you have never seen the drink before. Please do that. You have the drink with you? All of you have the drink? So you know that in between other thoughts will come and hook you and take you out of it. But your thought has to be your drink. So this is all what you are doing. You are being mindful. You are looking at the drink. You are seeing the drink for the first time. You have never encountered such a drink and you notice its color. Second thing is you now smell it. So don't worry, it's awareness. Yeah. So now the next step is please sip it slowly. Tiny amount. Don't take the whole amount. Tiny amount. Please sip. Don't drink it. Keep in the mouth and now taste it. All done. So you are actually tasting it with your mouth to know. Where is the thought of Mark and thought? Where any other thoughts coming and picking you up? Because we are trying to be in this moment to see how we can engage in this drink. Yeah. So the next step, let it sit on your tongue. You can do it one more time. Just sit. Let it sit on your tongue and on your teeth and feel the taste of it. Yes? Joshua, well done. Yes, Joshua says it's tasty. Yummy. Mango orange. Somebody found it's mango and orange. Excellent. Thank you. So the next is, in between, some thoughts will come and hook you out. But you tend to then go back and look at the drink. So take a drink once again. Sip it again. Because in between, your mind has gone elsewhere to do something. Do exactly what you did. Yes? Is your mind now in the drink or some other thought? And then swallow it. So what are the steps in drinking? It's a simple thing. I'm just trying you to use this as a technique to learn mindfulness. Mindfulness only says you have to stay here and now. So, okay, so you got it again. So thoughts and feelings will come in between, will hook you out, but you have to think, what I am doing is tasting this drink which I have never seen before. But a wow factor or a wow factor. You know, most of us have lost. We don't actually look at it. What drink? What you know, like done very well. A pineapple and mango and pineapple. I cannot taste it. Mango and orange. Huh? Somebody had got mango only. Correct. There were two sets of drinks. One was mango and one was mango and orange mix. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted you to taste it. And don't worry about the drink. Drink was mainly for you to understand. So you got that as a second part. Now we are going to do a slightly higher technique because നമ്മുടെ stress എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു amount അല്ല കളയണ്ട drink വെച്ചേ ഒരു കാര്യം കൂടെ പറയാനുണ്ട്. So the next one is we are moving on to the next session, which is to understand how we can cope with emotional stress. So Adim Bara stress can be of any nature. We have to be mindful. Second, emotional stress. Emotional stress is very common to all of us. Again, I have to point over thoughts and feelings. And thoughts and feelings can hook you. So let us look here now how we can learn what is called grounding. So grounding is a technique. Sorry, I didn't ask anyone. That's a simple technique for mindfulness. Second thought is about grounding. Grounding is, I just told you about the redwood trees. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Redwood trees in the redwood trees, they are very large, giant trees who can stay. And they are staying only because their roots are deep and they are well grounded. Malayalathilulla word guruttam. Guruttam that could be one of those words, Guruttam Gurutakarshan, the gravity. The gravity and due to the rooting of the tree, it come back. So normally what happens is, whenever there is an issue means any factor of stress, our emotions can jump. But the emotions are naturally jumping, but how can you bring it back? How can you ground it? So this is what we are going to learn next. So imagine that in any of your lives, any kind of thoughts and emotions which may come to your mind, which will stir your emotions. Just take a minute, a second, just to think about any emotions which come to your mind. Anything which makes you feel sad, anything which makes you feel different, anything which you can just think about for a second. So when that comes, how does it manifest in you? ചിലർക്ക് ഭയങ്കര സന്തോഷമായിരിക്കും ചില കാര്യങ്ങൾ ചിന്തിക്കുമ്പോൾ. ചിലർക്ക് ചില കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമ്മുടെ ആരെങ്കിലും വേണ്ടപ്പെട്ടവർ മരിച്ചുപോയെന്ന് ചിന്തിക്കുമ്പോൾ we might feel very sad, അല്ലേ? നാച്ചുറൽ ആയിട്ട് ഇതെന്തോ 2-3 ന്യൂസ് ഒക്കെ ഒരാൾ അവിടെ നിന്ന് നമ്മൾ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്ത് ജൂലിയാണോ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ആ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്ത സമയത്ത് we were feeling sad. Why is happening to some 26-year-old and 29-year-old and what not? These are emotions which we naturally feel. Then think that it is just natural. Then it can come back. അപ്പോൾ ഈ recoil ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ വലിച്ചിട്ട് തിരിച്ചു കൊടുത്ത കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞല്ലോ. Recoil. So grounding is when the storm begins. If you are on the top of a tree, what happens? There's a chance of you falling down. If there is a electric, whatever you call it, and lightning, you might be in danger. So the best thing is you want to stay in the tree or you want to come down. So the most important thing is how can you come down safely? Recognize you are now understanding that this emotion is triggering a lot of feelings. Behavior change ചെയ്യുന്നതിന് മുമ്പായിട്ട് there is a space or a small gap where you can think what to do next. ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ react and respond. There are two ways of doing things. React, എന്തോ പറഞ്ഞു അയാളെ കയറി പഞ്ച് ചെയ്തു. That is the reaction immediately. പക്ഷേ ഞാൻ ചിന്തിച്ചു ഷിബു എന്നോട് എന്തിനാ അത് പറഞ്ഞത്? So I get a little time to think and then ground myself and then think how to act. അപ്പോൾ ഏതെങ്കിലും നിങ്ങൾ ചിന്തിച്ച ഒരു കാര്യം, ഇപ്പം നിങ്ങൾ ചിന്തിച്ച ഒരു കാര്യം, your emotions may have gone high, but can you bring yourself down? അതിന് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഒരു ടെക്നിക്കും കൂടെ ഇതിൻ്റെ കൂടുതൽ പഠിപ്പിക്കാം. മെഡിറ്റേഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ടെക്നിക്ക് തന്നെയാണ്. വാട്ട് പീപ്പിൾ ഡു ഈസ് ഡ്രിങ്ക് കുടിച്ചോ കേട്ടോ, ഫിനിഷ് ചെയ്തു, ഇനി ആ ഡ്രിങ്ക് മാറ്റിട്ട്, കാരണം അതിൻ്റെ ഇരുന്ന് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ മാഷ്മെലോയുടെ കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ. സോ വി ജസ്റ്റ് കീപ് ദ ഹാൻഡ് സെറ്റിൽ സംവെയർ. So I'm going to keep your eyes closed for a second, for a few minutes. We will again do it just for a few minutes. So whenever we have these emotions, we are going to learn a technique called grounding. For the grounding, close your eyes and then with your mind, it's called inner eye or inner mind, you just look at the top of your head. Uchi in the Malayalam parana, Brahma, on the top of your head. For a second. Then move on to your forehead, then move on to your nose, your mouth, slowly on to your neck, then to your chest, then to your abdomen, then to your pelvis, your thighs, your knees, and then to your ankles and foot on the ground. Keep your foot firmly on the ground. Keep your foot firmly on the ground. So you are feeling that you are grounded. We are going to repeat this technique again. Go back in your mind to the top of your head, to the front of your head, to your eyes, to your nose, to your mouth, slowly down the neck, your chest, your abdomen, your pelvis, your thighs, your knees, then your legs, and then feel grounded. Again, take a second. Top of your head, your forehead, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your neck, your chest, your abdomen, your pelvis, your thighs, your knees, your foot, and feel grounded. Now open your eyes. During this time, because I was speaking, I couldn't take my breath. If you are able to, you should take your breath slowly in and out. Yeah? Did you get that point? You can close one more time your eyes, and during this time, you focus on the mind, but meanwhile, you take your breath in, take a full breath, so that your diaphragm also move up, and then slowly release the breath out. Can you do that? Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Again, go from the top of your head to your forehead, to your mouth, your neck, your chest, your abdomen, your pelvis, your thighs, your knees, your ankles, your foot, and you feel grounded. So during the time, you slowly release your breath down. Thank you. So you understood now, this is another technique which is to feel grounded. So this is, I mentioned, when you hear a news, when you hear a kind of somebody said something to you, instead of immediately reacting, you take time to keep your emotions down in a grounded way. Then is the next step, which is to think. So that is the next step. So learn how to be grounded. Next is to engage, refocus, ground, and de-stress. So for doing that, you require to understand that storms, when it happens, they come and they go. So that means after a while, this storm also pass. അങ്ങനെയാണ് മഴ വന്നാലും വെയിൽ വന്നാലും we have to think that this will also pass. ആരെങ്കിലും വേണ്ടപ്പെട്ടൊരു മരിച്ചുപോയി, something happens, but your life will move on. So things will move on. Next is, no matter how severe is the weather, sooner or later the weather will change. So that is the next step. Unhooking, noticing, naming, and refocus. Again, this is a thought process. ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ എന്നെ ശിവു അടിച്ചു, ഞാൻ ഇമ്മീഡിയറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് റെസ്പോണ്ട് ചെയ്യാതെ I was thinking why he hit me. So I have to notice and understand why it happened, then think about it, So you have to name that. So naming എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു ആങ്കർ പെട്ടെന്ന് വന്നാൽ you immediately look at it, why it has happened, how it has happened, how can you focus on the thought and understand it better. അതിന് naming എന്നാ പറയുന്നത്. Naming, why did it happen, എന്നുള്ള naming, and then refocus. So the notice is number one, that is notice that there is a thought which is coming to take you out, but you are naming it, and then you are saying that this is now causing this tightness on my forehead. Because ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞു പലപ്പോഴും സ്ട്രെസ് കാരണം നമുക്ക് തലവേദനയാണ്, വയറുവേദനയാണ്, ഇറിറ്റബിൾ ബവൽ സിൻഡ്രോം ആണ്, വേരിയസ് ഡിഫറെന്റ് ഫോംസിൽ ആൾക്കാർ വരും. But you have to understand it, then to name it. Sorry, first is notice, name, and then refocus, and then feel grounded. So once you are able to do that, then you can move on in your life. So the last bit of it is to look at how we can enjoy everyday life. So ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ refocusingലൂടെ നമുക്ക് we can get back to normal life. ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ important ആയിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യമായിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞത് how can we enjoy the surroundings, even small things. ചിലപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ എപ്പോഴും വീട്ടിൽ പറയുന്ന ജസ്റ്റ് ഞങ്ങൾ നടന്നു പോകുമ്പോൾ കുറച്ച് നല്ല പൂക്കൾ കാണും. Just stay there, be mindful about the flowers and spend time with them. ചിലപ്പോൾ കിളികളുടെ ശബ്ദമായിരിക്കും. Just take a few minutes to see how you can get that. ഇപ്പോൾ ഏറ്റവും ബെസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് പറയുന്ന വുഡ്സിൽ കുറച്ച് നേരം നടക്കാൻ പോകുന്നതാണ് ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ ലേറ്റസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് എല്ലാവരും സിമ്പിൾ ആയിട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഫൈറ്റോസയാനിൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു ഓക്സിജന്റെ കൂടെ സപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു ഐറ്റം ഉണ്ട്, which is also very helpful for human brain to regenerate and refocus. So that is something which we can do. ആയുർവേദയിൽ രണ്ട് കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് കൂടെ പഠിപ്പിച്ച് മനസ്സിലാക്കി മതിയാക്കാം. ഒന്ന് സാത്മ്യ. സാത്മ്യ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഞാനിത് വായിച്ചതിന് വേണ്ടി മാത്രം വായിച്ചതാണ്, ടു അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ്. ആയുർവേദയിൽ സാത്മ്യ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എനിത്തിങ് വിച്ച് ഇസ് നോട്ട് ഇൻ ബ്ലെൻഡ് വിത്ത് മീ, എൻ്റെ ശരീരത്തിന് യോജിക്കാത്തത് എന്ത്, അതാണ് ദോഷങ്ങളായിട്ട് വരുന്നത്. ദോഷം എന്ന് മലയാളത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞാൽ ട്രിഗർ എന്നേ അർത്ഥമുള്ളൂ. ഇപ്പം ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ peanut is an allergy to me, for example ഞാൻ പറയാം. So when I see the peanut, it suddenly creates a dosha or a trigger and something in my mind. So it's because of cellular memory. So it can happen through any of your senses. പഞ്ചേന്ദ്രിയങ്ങളിൽ ഏതിൽ കൂടെ വേണമെങ്കിലും നമുക്ക് വരാം. How can you correct it to develop an understanding of what are the things that are asatmya to your body? And they always said, ഇവർ നമ്മളൊക്കെ കണ്ടുപിടിക്കുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് തന്നെ ഗട്ട് HPA ആക്സിസ് കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അറിയോ, കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? ഗട്ട് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ സ്റ്റൊമക്കിലെ ലൈനിങ് ഒക്കെ വരുന്നത്. Now it is found that there are thousands and millions of bacteria which actually produce serotonin, GABA, adrenaline എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ഒരുപാട് സാധനങ്ങൾ നമ്മുടെ സ്റ്റൊമക്കിന്റെ അകത്ത് തന്നെ പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ അത് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന സ്റ്റൊമക്ക് ആൻഡ് ഇൻറ്റസ്റ്റൈൻ and the brain is, the gut is now considered as a second brain, which was again taught by Ayurveda long time ago. നിങ്ങൾ പഥ്യം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? പഥ്യം എന്താ? പഥ്യം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ certain food things should not be used with your daily routine. തൈരും മോരും എന്തൊക്കെ സാധനങ്ങൾ മിക്സ് ചെയ്യാൻ പാടില്ല. തൈര് ഫിഷോ ആണോ, സംതിങ് ലൈക്ക് ദാറ്റ്. There's so many different things because they thought it will generate bad dosha or trigger something in your mind. So you can feel bloated or feel your stomach is getting upset. So be mindful of what you eat and eat a diary. This is another thing which they have noticed long time ago. Last minute. Anything which you feel doing at the last minute will give you a buzz. So you are a very emotional person. So how can you reduce that? മുമ്പ് കേംബ്ലോറച്ചിൽ ഒരു പടം കാണിച്ചായിരുന്നു, snail clock. Do you remember that? A snail clock. I will show it later on to see. So they always thought you need to be in control. So when you have these peripheral symptoms of anxiety, you should think that you are always sitting on edge. Dhi, Thairyam, Atmadi Vijnanam. Dhi എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ your ability to perceive things clearly or clarity of thought. സുദർശൻ എന്നാണ് അതിന് പറയുന്നത്. സുദർശൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ സുദർശനം, that is clarity of vision. Second thing is second thing is dhairyam, that is confidence. Third thing is atmadi vijnanam. നമ്മളെപ്പോലത്തെ ആൾക്കാർ ഈ പള്ളിയിൽ വരുന്നത് to get a spiritual wisdom. So once you have the spiritual wisdom, you can be in control of your dhi. Dhi എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ it's intellect or buddhi. Buddhയുടെ dhi അല്ല buddhi. Buddhi is somebody who has enlightened himself. So he has come out of the maya or illusions to be out. So natural human being is sadharana എന്ത് emotion വന്നാലും we are in an autopilot. We react. Instead of reacting, stay back, ground yourself and then respond. For that, they have said long time ago, gain control of your dhi or buddhi. And then, think about the space you get where you can grow and then respond rather than react. So, Sudarshana Chakra എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ വിഷ്ണുവിന്റെ കയ്യിലിരിക്കുന്ന ചക്രമാണ്. Fog, like clarity ഇല്ലാത്ത സ്ഥലം, it will cut through and then get you to give clarity or better vision. Then when your energy is low, that is hunger, anger, late and tired. I'm sure doctors പലരും പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടാവും ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള അവസ്ഥയിൽ നിങ്ങൾ ഡിസിഷൻ മേക്കിങ്ങിന് പോലും decision will never be correct or it most likely will be wrong. So when you are hungry, when you are angry, when you are late, when you are tired, so you have what is called as a low dhi. Your clarity is low, so you can't make clear decisions. When your energy is low, that is your dhairyam is low, you need to think that is not the time you can deal with this kind of decision making. You might take a time to think. The last one is spiritual wisdom, and that is Atmiya Vijnana. So you have to develop that by reading books and practicing meditation. So avoid anything that can bring you an instant energy, like coffee, coke, alcohol, illegal substances. അങ്ങനെയുള്ള സാധനങ്ങൾ പെട്ടെന്ന് നമ്മുടെ ധീ കൂട്ടും, പക്ഷെ it will not last. ധൈര്യം കൂട്ടും, പക്ഷെ അത് നിൽക്കത്തില്ല. Ayurveda has lots of things which can get you out of it. They do panchakarma, which is through this ways, which is like vamana, basti, nasya, rakta moksha, siddha. Not that everything you require when you want to do, but it can actually help you to rejuvenate yourself in the times of stress. Yoga also has a lot of things, especially when people have ME for chronic fatigue. Yoga has really good things. They have yogic postures, breathing exercises, meditations, individual stress advice, and graded changes in physical activity. So these are the most important things to look at how you can manage stress. In short, I have taught you about what is stress. I taught you about what are the types of stress, how does it progress through your body, both physical and emotional stress, and then how we can manage stress. Manage stress through first was mindfulness, second was grounding, the third was to look at notice. Notice you just have to notice and name it, and then you can take the hook off. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഹുക്ക് നിങ്ങൾ തന്നെ പിടിച്ച് വെക്കും. അത് KM കോളേജിന്റെ സ്നേൽ ക്ലോക്ക് ആണ് നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞത്. If nobody has seen it, just have a look. We are always in constant rush. Fast as forward ആണല്ല. അപ്പൊ അച്ഛൻ പറഞ്ഞത് the snail shows its slow life, and mindfulness life is a slow life. You don't pace yourself. The clock doesn't show a time, it's infinity. ഇന്നത്തേക്കല്ല, എന്നത്തേക്കും വേണ്ടിയാണ്. ഞാൻ ഇന്നും പ്രാർത്ഥനയിൽ കേട്ടോട്ടെ, എന്നും എന്നേക്കും അച്ഛൻ പറയുന്നില്ല, വീണ്ടും വീണ്ടും അച്ഛൻ പറയുന്നത് എവർലാസ്റ്റിംഗ് ഉള്ള ടോപ്പിക്കാണ് എപ്പോഴും വരുന്നത്. rather than saying for today, it's for evermore, to evermore. And here its time is going beyond. So it is how Achan has represented the time in his meditative clock. So thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry I've taken more time than it was allocated to me. Any questions? Hope it has been useful at least. Any questions? Thank you. Any questions? എല്ലാം ക്ലിയർ ആയിരുന്നു. ധൈര്യം, ആത്മാദി, വിജ്ഞാനം, ഇത് മൂന്നും ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ സ്ട്രെസ് ബീറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമെന്ന് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു. എന്തോ 50 വയസ്സിന് മേലെയായി, 50 വയസ്സ് വരെ എന്തുകൊടുക്കുമായിരുന്നു. ശരിയാണ്, പലപ്പോഴും ഞാൻ ചിന്തിക്കാറുണ്ട് കേട്ടോ, ഇത്രയും നാൾ നമ്മൾ ചിന്തിക്കാത്ത പല കാര്യങ്ങൾ. And very interestingly, when I read about stress, I was thinking, ഈ ആയുർവേദക്കാരൊക്കെ 2000 വർഷം മുതലൊക്കെ എങ്ങനെ കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചിരുന്നു? I can't really have a clue. And would you know that most of these techniques are used in a repackaged way. ഈ mindfulness എവിടെ നിന്നാ വന്നത്? Eastern meditative states എന്നാണ്. Zen Buddhism is one of the things which people have learned over centuries, like 2000 years plus. But that has been repackaged into a new, പഴയ വീഞ്ഞ് അച്ഛനെന്ന് വായിച്ചവരടുത്ത് പഴയ വീഞ്ഞെടുത്ത് പുതിയ എഴുതിക്കാത്ത വെച്ചതിന്റെ സെയിം പ്രിൻസിപ്പിൾ ആണ്. They have put everything and repackaged the new name called mindfulness. It was there long time ago. It was done long time ago. ഈ നോട്ടീസ് ചെയ്യുന്നതും നെയിം ചെയ്യുന്നതും ഒക്കെ it was there long time ago. It was not something new. Yogic practices even now in the Western world is done much more than what is done in the Eastern world. Mainly because they use it as a way to overcome stress because of the change in what we were doing. നമ്മളെല്ലാം വെറും hunter gatherers ആണ്. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ആനിമൽസിനെ പിടിച്ച് ചുട്ടു തിന്ന് ജീവിച്ചിരുന്ന മനുഷ്യരാണ്. ഇപ്പോഴാണെങ്കിൽ ഫുൾ ടൈം നമ്മൾ കമ്പ്യൂട്ടറിന്റെ മുമ്പിൽ കുത്തി നമ്മൾ ഓടി നടക്കായിരുന്നു മാനിനെ പിടിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മീറ്റ് പിടിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഫ്രൂട്ട്സ് പ്ലക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി. ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ ഫുൾ ടൈം കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ, ഞാൻ ഉൾപ്പെടെ പറയുന്നത്, ഫുൾ ടൈം കമ്പ്യൂട്ടറിന്റെ മുമ്പിൽ കുത്തിയിരിക്കുകയാണ് rather than doing something active. Because this activity beyond our small place helps us to develop more mindfulness. Once again, thank you very much, and thank you to Nebu for inviting me for this session, and Sachin as the guru, not guru, it's a manager, or what do you call it, secretary for the youth movement. Thank you.
Okay.
Please. പിള്ളേരോട് ചോദിക്കണം.
Definitely, let me start thanking the Almighty for giving this time together first. Thank you, Anuvacha, for your constant support for these sessions. Senator, this has been absolute insight for all of us. നമ്മൾ സ്ട്രെസ്സിനെ കുറിച്ച് ഇത്രയും തോട്ട് ആക്ച്വലി കൊടുത്തിട്ടില്ല പല ഇൻസ്റ്റൻസിലും. ഇത് ഐ തിങ്ക് ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് us from different age category can start relating to this, irrespective uni or your in early life of your career or in your family life. Thank you, Senator. You have clearly explained us what stress is, type of stress. I think one key takeaway for me personally is the mindfulness little techniques which we can start practicing, and also have to be grounded. I think one thought which came to me when we were explaining this is like, with the mindfulness and being grounded comes gratitude, because we take a lot of things for granted, but only if we are mindful and we understand the moment, like Senator just mentioned, just enjoying that little break, we can be thankful to what we have currently. So definitely, we will definitely request for more sessions, Senator, and thank you so much. And thank you, Tony and Don, for capturing this. We'll have this recorded in YouTube, and we'll have definitely more sessions coming. And also, Nebu, definitely for this initiative. Thank you.